A brief overview of our programs and partnerships. Some of you all may have heard of us from seeing Butterfly Highway pit stops throughout your communities. Um, the Butterfly Highway program is one of our biggest statewide efforts to educate folks about the importance of pollinators and creating pollinator habitat in our own spaces. Um, so that's the little symbol that you see there. We also have our Keep It Clean, Make It Green program, which are all of our chapters have participated in, which is for every 25 pounds of litter that you pick up from the landscape, we have committed to planting a tree or 10 pollinator plants anywhere in the state. So when you do this through chapter involvement, we get this information from the chapter. It goes into a nice spreadsheet and we keep track of things that way. But if you're an individual and you're in an area where there isn't a chapter, and this is something that is of interest to you, we do have this place online on our website where you can input however many pounds of trash you picked up. And then, of course, we also promote our certified wildlife habitat program that is a National Wildlife Federation program, but we work with communities, property owners, different corporate groups in advising on how to certify your wildlife habitat. We do work with deer donation and management programs. We work closely with Wildlife Resources Commission in collecting samples for CWD, which is a disease that affects deer in the wild. So we do that along with Hunters for the Hungry. We are, involved with wildlife connectivity and conservation in the mountains with the elk, over in the coast with red wolves, and of course, marine fisheries. And all in all, we also advocate for policies that aid in conservation at the federal and state level. So just a few of those policies are listed on here, but Recovering America's Wildlife Act is an ongoing project for us. The Coastal Barrier Resources Act, U.S. Forest Service's National Old Growth Amendment, and different acts and policies such as those. And you can read more about those on our website. So, what can you expect to learn today? We're going to go over just general information on what are NCWF community wildlife chapters, who at NCWF can help me get connected to these chapters, where are these existing chapters, and how can I get involved? And then if I'm interested in starting a chapter, what do I need to get started? And that last piece, we are going to go very surface level because that gets very detailed very quickly. So our NCWF community wildlife chapters are community-based volunteer wildlife and habitat advocates who establish our cohesive statewide network. Our chapters fall under NCWF's umbrella. So NCWF, the statewide organization, is the partner organization, and I'm sorry, the parent organization, and the chapters all fall underneath us. They act as extensions of us in communities around the state, and they champion our mission and goal, which is to protect, conserve, and restore wildlife habitat. And how do they do this? These are the three essential elements of NCWF chapters. They do this by conducting wildlife projects, such as, say, you're planting trees, installing more pollinator habitat, installing chimney swift towers, bat boxes. All of those are just a small example of the types of projects that our chapters conduct throughout the state. They do this by being a voice for wildlife. So that means, whenever we are trying to push forward policy as a statewide organization, we will reach out to our network, as our network has their own group of folks that they are closely aligned with, that can help us kind of get more voices added to push forward this policy that is beneficial to wildlife and habitat in our state. Our chapters also are a big part of our Savor Sounds ocean advocacy camp workshop campaigns. And they're essential for us in order to really get that community backing and support when it comes to um, making change in our state and federal policy. So lastly, they do this also by engaging youth and adults with wildlife and outdoors, which some might think is probably the funnest piece of being part of NCWF chapter, which is you get to go outside, you get to go on these different hikes with our chapters, be it guided nature walks, guided birding trips, anything to really get people to love, care, and experience the outdoors so that they have this direct connection with wildlife and habitat. Another example of this could be paddling activities where you're going out with a group of folks onto your local river or lake and you're looking out for different wildlife that might be present there. And all of these opportunities are something that we as a statewide organization have a lot of experience with and have been making happen over the past few years and creating those connections with folks that can lead these types of opportunities for the chapters. So there is that knowledge of organization and just general science that is available to our chapters. So again, brief overview of our chapters. Now I want you all to meet our NCWF outreach team. Our NCWF is made up of 20 full-time staff or so. We have folks that work in philanthropy. We have folks that work in communications. And then, of course, all the behind the scenes, packing butterfly highway envelopes, shipping items out, that type of stuff. And then, of course, our finance and operations. But who you will see if you're part of a chapter the most is our outreach team. So as the VP of Conservation Partnerships, I lead a group of 5 folks throughout the state. We've got Laura here, who's helping me today. That she's got her old last name on this one, but Laura Knightsey. And I'll go into where they're located and also how you can reach them. Alden Picard, Katarina Ramos, Kara Solomon, and Paige Turner. They're all the outreach team, and they're all available to our chapters to reach out to whenever there's any questions or doubts, or if they're looking to have a speaker at an event and need to be connected. So in Northeastern North Carolina, we've got Laura, who's a refuge conservation coordinator. She's got refuge in her title because she works in Pocosin Lakes National Wildlife Refuge. So you'll often find her at the visitor center or roaming the wildlife refuge, giving bear tours and wintering waterfowl tours. So awesome job there. Katarina Ramos, who is the Red Wolf Education and Outreach Coordinator. So you will find her at the Red Wolf Center. But here over on the right side of the screen, you'll see just that's approximately the span that they cover. It looks small there, but if you're anywhere in Elizabeth City or Columbia area, you know that is quite a long drive. So they cover a large stretch. Over in southeastern North Carolina, we've got Paige Turner. She is one of our newer conservation coordinators who was just hired on in the summer. But she works with a couple of our chapters over in this general area that you're seeing in your screen. And then, of course, with any partners as well. In the Triangle area, we've got Kara, who works with our different chapters and like in the Triangle area, Chatham County, Durham County, Whip Forest, and Wake County. And we're hoping one day we can kind of grow that area as well. But for now, that is her area of focus, and her information is on here. I will be sending out this recording with a follow-up email, and so you will also have access to this PowerPoint presentation and the other item that we will go through here shortly. But yeah, we have really easy email addresses. We keep it at our first names, which is probably good, especially for some of us with complicated last names. Over in the Southwest Piedmont in the mountains, we've got Alden Picard. So he is based out of Charlotte, as am I. And he works with a handful of chapters in this area. In the mountain area, we did have, we were working on some interested couple of groups that wanted to start chapters in the Asheville-Swannanoa area and in Ashe County. But then, of course, after Hurricane Helene came through, that all kind of came to a grinding stop, and completely understandable as we're trying to assist our communities in recovering after that event. But Alden is who you will meet if you're anywhere in Charlotte area and in the mountains. Okay. Whew. So now that we've gone through this important set of information, I'm going to take you all on a tour through our great state. Can you all see that okay? Thank you. All right. So before we get into geography, we're going to talk about a little bit of history. So we're going to tour through time. Like I mentioned before, NCWF was founded in 1945. It was founded by several dozen sportsmen conservationists in Raleigh with the purpose of promoting and improving wildlife and fishing conditions in the state. In 1947, the State General Assembly, largely thanks to the efforts of this NCWF, authorized the establishment of the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission, who is the state agency that we now work with when it comes to anything wildlife biology related, or resources throughout the state. This is a big span of time, but between 1947 and 2004, the organization primarily focused on pushing forward those policy efforts in partnership with agencies and other NGOs. So back during this time, we were not looking at chapters or grassroots as much as we were just looking at what was the statewide organization doing as a whole when it comes to policy. A couple of these efforts, and these are just two of them, but there is a much longer list on our website, and I think that Laura's posting some links to that. So if you all have any questions on it, you can click on that, and you'll see more examples of successes that NCWF has had over that time period. But we pushed recycling legislation to curb refuse in the environment. This was back early on, and then of course led efforts to establish Alligator River and Roanoke River National Wildlife Refuge. We didn't do any of this alone. We did this through the partnerships that we've had in the state for decades, and these are partnerships that we have to this day. So that is just a small short snip of what was going on over the past those few years. If we fast forward to 2004, that's when we see our first community wildlife chapter established in Matthews. They're known as the Habitat and Wildlife Keepers, HAWK, and they really laid down the foundation for the chapter network, and they're also still active in the Matthews area and will we'll get to them shortly. Another 20-year jump, and we get to today, where we currently have 15 community wildlife chapters that are active throughout the state. However, like I mentioned before, our staff is made up of, let me see if I can do math, 14 other folks, at least, that are working still in the halls of state and federal Congress to support the passage of different wildlife and habitat protection policies, such as the Recovering America's Wildlife Act. And then, of course, our staff continues to support the red wolf recovery efforts. Hence, as I mentioned earlier, Katarina's established role within the Red Wolf Center and Kat and Laura's partnership with Fish and Wildlife. And we continue our efforts to protect North Carolina Sounds from unsustainable shrimping practices through the Safer Sounds campaign. So, like I said, this is going to be available to you all. I think we're going to end up putting it on our website. But there's some links here that you can click, and they'll lead you to like more information on each one of these items. So if you click on Recovering America's Wildlife Act here, that'll take you to National Wildlife Federation's page if you want to learn more about what that means. As we go down, we have this fun interactive map, which shows you the location of all of our chapters that are currently active here in North Carolina. These colors, this is a little heat map of where we have done pollinator plantings and projects, where we've planted native trees and shrubs. We also have information on where we've removed invasive species and and where we've picked up trash as well. But we're working still through how to make that look really good using GIS. This is something that you can click around in. And so if you click on any one of these points, you can see the city in which the trees were planted, and then any total trees and shrubs that were installed. So when I send this out, you guys will all have the opportunity to play around with this map and kind of zoom in and out and do as you wish. Okay, so now we get into the geography. We're gonna go west to east, and what is typically a 7-hour drive, we will try to fit into 40 more minutes. So hang in there. It's gonna be a wild ride. We're gonna start out with Lake James Area Wildlife and Nature Society. This chapter holds an annual cleanup at Lake James. And they were instrumental with the post-Hurricane Helene cleanup efforts. I will be zooming into some of these pictures so you all can see the folks that are working on the ground. But typically what that day looks like is, you're out on a boat, picking up some large debris out there, as it is a large reservoir. That tends to be where all the big and small pieces of litter end up after making their way down the water courses. So if you want to learn more about them, you can follow them on Facebook. And I believe, so they hold their annual cleanup in March, so you likely won't be hearing from them until then. But if you're in the area, just be sure that you're following them, and make sure that you register to attend that day. And that's Lake James Area Wildlife and Nature Society. What is this? About an hour-and-a-half drive to Gastonia, potentially. We've got Gaston Paws, Piedmont Area Wildlife Stewards. They are known for having amazing annual banquets once a year. And so if you like wildlife, oysters, raffles, and silent auctions, if you're into hunting, Gaston Paws is your chapter. They do work with Wildlife Resources Commission and both Learn to Hunt events. I believe this year they've had a Learn to Hunt educational opportunity on turkey. They've held one on deer. So if you want to learn how to call turkey or just good ethical hunting practices, be sure that you are also following them on Facebook and their website. At this time, I believe that they're also looking for help with the leadership team. So here is their email if you want to reach out to them if you're in the area. I will say they have focused on Learn to Hunt and their banquet over the past couple of years, but they do have a handful of other events, and I think they're looking to get into more pollinator habitat work. So they're in I've got them there in Gastonia, but they've done work around Lake Wylie and the Catawba River, installed some osprey nests and wood duck boxes. So yeah, they are active and they are having a lot of fun. A 40-minute drive away, potentially an hour if you're stuck in traffic, we've got the Charlotte Wildlife Stewards. So Charlotte Wildlife Stewards was recognized as the City of Charlotte's proud partner of the Canopy in 2024, and they have been active throughout the City of Charlotte since 2013. They were instrumental in getting the City of Charlotte certified as a community wildlife habitat. And the way that you certify these communities is through National Wildlife Federation, and it means that you have put forth a lot of effort and time when it comes to educating folks, and they sure have. They hold monthly educational programs, and you can see them planting trees and pollinator habitats all over the city. Yeah, and they were actually the chapter that I was first involved with before I joined NCWF as staff. So here's some pictures from a litter cleanup. They also were the main host for the Monarch Festival this year in partnership with the city landscape management team and Keep Charlotte Beautiful and so on. So they are very, very active. If you're in the Charlotte area, be sure to join them at their upcoming social and trivia night, Saturday, January 25th, at Sugar Creek Brewing Company. So if you want to join them, be sure to register. And like I said, you can click on these links and they'll send you to registration forms and so on. You can also reach out to them directly via the email address and visit their website. So I hope you all bear with me here. We have 11 more chapters to go through today. Lots of good stuff that we need to fit in the next 40 minutes or so before we get to questions. So again, like I mentioned before, this is not at all meant to encompass everything that everyone's doing, but it's just meant to be like a general overview of all the fun opportunities that are available if you're looking for volunteer experience or leadership experience, or if you just want to participate in some fun educational webinars or in-person talks. So moving down to Western Union County / Marvin Waxhaw area, we've got the Habitat Builders. They were previously known as Marsh. They recently changed their name to be a little bit more encompassing of the area that they serve. They have been around since 2019. I believe that they will be hosting their gardening and their Southern Piedmont series this coming February. And when they're not doing that, they can be seen ridding habitat of invasive species and holding educational programs with animal ambassadors. So I believe that they recently had an educational program on snakes of the Piedmont and had a few animal ambassadors there. So that was very popular with families and all like. So along with that, they participated in the Southeastern Pollinator Census this year and have been instrumental in planting trees in the Marvin area, which is becoming a highly developed area near Charlotte. So as Charlotte expands, it's starting to creep into these previously suburban areas and now starting to become more dense. And they work closely with town council and different folks in the town to make sure that these new developments are not adding more invasive species to our lovely state. And you can, let's see, join them Sunday, December 15th for an invasive plant removal in Marvin. If you have not participated in an invasive plant removal, those are a lot of fun if you need to get some tough feelings out because you get to just hack away at things, chop things, kind of let it all out. So highly, highly recommend it. They also recently updated their website, so check them out. Moving a few minutes over, we've got Union County Wildlife Chapter. Whenever they're not partnering with the North Carolina Forest Service and litter cleanups and tree plantings, they host educational programs at the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Office in Monroe. And they actually have one coming up not this Thursday, in Thursday, January 9th, 6:30 to 8 p.m. I believe there should be a registration form already, but I just didn't get it in here in time. If you're interested in learning more about zoning and conservation town, I highly, highly, highly encourage you all to click on this link and watch your latest educational event. Mayor Rick Becker of Mineral Springs came to talk at a partnered chapter event. So it was an event with Union County Wildlife and the Habitat Builders. Sorry, it takes a minute. Since they just changed their name. And he just spoke about what a conservation town is and zoning and what we can do as communities to enlighten our representatives as to the importance of wildlife, habitat, and preserving it. So this is a great, great video for you all to watch. I think it's 30 minutes, but I highly, highly recommend it. And I'll just scroll through a couple pictures here. So these are all pictures from events. I think this cleanup happened a couple weekends ago. But right here, you see Alden in his orange glasses. And we've got a few folks, I think. Brianna, who's the president, right there up at the front. Yeah. Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, we've got hawk habitat and wildlife keepers in the Matthews area. They are the longest standing chapter, or our longest standing chapter. And chances are that you've seen them hosting giant Kids in Nature Days and Earth Day celebrations at Squirrel Lake Park. So they have worked seamlessly with the town to provide carpooling to Squirrel Lake Park from different parking areas around the town of Matthews because the event is so popular and it's so much fun. This year they actually had a few animal ambassadors, had a red-shouldered hawk, I believe, had some snakes. So it's great, great opportunity to bring your kids or families out to this event. And then, of course, they do have educational events. I think in January, they tentatively have an owl prowl scheduled. So our chapters do hold some night events, which are oftentimes very, very fun because you get to see a lot of things that you typically wouldn't see because most of us don't want to be out in the woods at night unless we enjoy camping or anything like that. So, um, lots of fun. This year, they also guided some families through a stream exploration date. And here's some pictures. This is Great Outdoors University, also one of our NCWF programs. And they have been instrumental in planning those Kids in Nature Day events. Oh, there it is. Forgot I put this picture on there. All right. Okay. Moving up north to Lake Norman. And I will take a swig of water now. I feel, excuse me. Lake Norman wildlife conservationists have been around since 2008. They have been key in restoring habitat for wildlife around Lake Norman, not just only Lake Norman, but the Catawba River as well. With the Hurricane Helene event, they held three large-scale cleanups in which they worked with Duke Energy. We, of course, helped organize these events, but they hauled 40 tons of trash, litter, dock parts, house parts from Lake Norman and the Catawba. Um, and I believe we had more than 100 volunteers that either showed up and volunteered to be boat captains, volunteered their boats to hold all of this litter. And yeah, they just did an amazing job. I'm still in awe of all that they did after Hurricane Helene. And post Hurricane Helene, they will be continuing their Adopt an Island program, which is also a partnership with Duke Energy to make sure that those islands that are within Lake Norman are kept clean and free of debris for wildlife. And they've also worked in planting button bushes around the shores of the islands to decrease the erosion that might be happening. Every year they also have an annual Christmas tree drop. So if you don't know what to do with your natural Christmas tree, they will come pick this up and I believe it's a fundraiser for a different nonprofit, but they pick it up and they tie cinder blocks to these trees and put them in the lake to create more habitat for fish. Recently, Veterans Day, we went over for a celebration to not only commemorate Veterans Day, but to also kind of break ground on some rock reef installations, which will help create more fish habitat, which in turn also creates those opportunities for different folks and veterans, everyone to come out to these areas and have a place to fish and participate in recreation outdoors. So they know how to have fun on the lake um and they are always looking for folks to join them. So if you're anywhere near that area, Lake Norman Wildlife Conservationist has lots and lots of opportunities coming up in the coming year. They actually also have a fun holiday party this Saturday, which I wish I could go to, but if you are able to and available, they will be meeting at the Mooresville Arts Depot Saturday, December 7th. And they do ask that you register because there will be food and drinks. So we'll send this out sometime either tomorrow or in the next couple of days so you all can register. You can also find all of these registration links on our website in our events tab. All right. Moving down to Concord area, we do have the Concord Wildlife Alliance. They were established around the same time as Charlotte Wildlife Stewards in 2013. And they've been actively participating in community outreach events, educating families, litter cleanups. So I believe there was recently a wildlife festival up in Concord in which they participated. And this is a picture from one of their cleanups. Let's see. They are also looking for folks to join their leadership team. So I've been saying this a lot, but what exactly does that mean? Not NCWF chapters typically have a group of 6 to 12 folks that lead the chapters. And so that is, having a president, a treasurer, uh, secretary, someone to write newsletters or keep up with online presence. So each one of these chapters has a different situation going on, but any more help when it comes to joining in leadership is always welcome, and it's always a fun and rewarding experience as well. So be sure to email them if that is of any interest, and follow them on Facebook so you know what else is coming up. Okay, we are getting kind of down to the home stretch, but moving farther out east, approximately 2 hours from Concord, we've got the Tri-County Conservationists based out of the Chapel Hill area, but serving Orange County, Alamance, and Chatham, I believe. They're one of our newest chapters. Oh, I wrote it down. Look at that. They're one of our newest chapters. And over the past year, they have cleared a few acres of invasive species near Bowling Creek in Chapel Hill. And they've gone back and replaced these recently cleared areas with native understory plants. They actually have a sign going in at Bowling Creek. So if you're anywhere near that area, you will be seeing that go up soon. So it's Bowling Creek Greenway, really close to Franklin Street. Yeah, so you'll get to learn more about exactly what all that project entailed. And yeah, hopefully you can join them. Speaking of joining them, they will be having a webinar online December 12th on bioluminescent insects. So I think they have an NC State entomologist coming in to talk about the different species that are present throughout the state and what we can do to kind of safeguard their future. Couple pictures. I've got Laura over here, who is, I believe, the treasurer for the chapter at the North Carolina State Fair. So you might have seen a few of our chapters there this year if you made it to Raleigh for the State Fair. So here's what I'm talking about when invasive species removal. We've learned not all that is green is good. So if you want to come out and learn more about that, Tri-County's got you there. Okay, so moving up northeast about 40 minutes, we've got the Durham Wildlife Stewards, NCWF's newest chapter. They are not yet chartered, but they have already had a very successful social at the Glass Jug. They've planted trees in partnership with Eno River Association. Yes. Hi, Donna. Yeah. And they worked with the Salvation Army Boys and Girls Club near downtown, installing native pollinator habitat. That's done through a Burt's Bees grant that we received earlier this year. And they also help manage invasive imported fire ants, which was a big issue back in this outdoor space that is supposed to be used by kids. So that was, that was good work that Durham Wildlife Stewards has accomplished over the past couple of months. All of that said, they are planning to continue to do more of that work in the coming year. They will be they're one of the chapters that will be hosting Katarina Ramos, Red Wolf Conservation. Yeah, she will be there to speak on Red Wolf Conservation in March next year. So here's a picture from the glass jug. Had a few folks come out. There's Kara, Triangle Area Conservation Coordinator, with a couple, Joyce and Rob from Durham Wildlife Stewards, and a few folks from the Boys and Girls Club, Salvation Army. All right. Few more chapters to go. We've got the South Lake Conservationists over in South Lake, Holly Springs, Fuquay area, but they also do work all the way up to the Art Museum in Raleigh. They were recognized by the city of Raleigh during the 2024 Climate Action Week for their efforts in educating and engaging the public with nature. They do all of this through that they have a diverse cover over all things NCWF programs. They do this through habitat restoration, through the Butterfly Highway program, through installation of new pollinator habitat. They participate in the Clean and Green programs through both litter pickups and tree plantings. And of course, like youth and family engagement, they also host a giant Kids Nature Day in the Wake County. And they have a group of folks within their chapter that are very active in the deer donation program in support of NC Wildlife Resources Commission. So I've linked more information on that, and you can join them online this Thursday, so in a couple nights, for their webinar on the North Carolina Natural Heritage Program, which will be pretty interesting, and I will be jumping in for that one as well. So these are all wonderful educational opportunities that are free to all that come. Of course, we always are happy to accept donations, and that's a part of our registration forms. A large portion of those donations go straight to the chapter, and a portion of that goes to us to cover any of the processing time and efforts. Here's a picture. We've got Monty over here, John over here, Southway Conservationists. And I believe this is from a tour that they were able to organize for, is it the Museum of Life Science? I can't remember at this point, but it was kind of a behind the scenes wildlife tour, which was really fun and neat for all their chapter supporters. Okay. Moving on to the Wake Forest area, we've got the Neuse River Hawks. As you can see from this picture, they do not let the weather stop them. They hold regular nature walks in the Wake Forest area. I believe they had a really strong partnership with the Native Plant Society and the Friends of Native Plants. And so they were able to arrange tours directly with them in some of their preserves that are not always open to the public. They hold educational programs with different experts, and recently worked with the town of Rollsville in some invasive removal and plantings as well. So they've been around since 2015, and they've been busy since 2015. If you want to meet them, you should come make pine cone bird feeders with them at the Wake Forest Senior Center on this Saturday, December 7th, 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. No registration required, so this event is open to the public. And you can find them on Facebook to stay up to date on all the upcoming opportunities. If you're in the Wake Forest area, you will also see a lot of educational signage with their logo on them too. So now you know kind of what to look for. Okay, and now we're moving all the way up to the Elizabeth City area, slash northeastern North Carolina. So the Wildlife Habitat Stewards of Northeastern North Carolina were officially chartered in 2024. And this is a picture from the day that they were chartered at Dismal Swamp. It's a beautiful place. If you have not had the opportunity to go up there, I highly, highly recommend it. That day we did the charter signing, and then we did a couple hour paddle, and it was just a great time. There's Laura. And we've got our chapter leaders and the board of directors folks. Every year, or well, over the past couple of years, they have held a holiday trash party where they've picked up a lot of trash. I think last year they did a few holiday trash party events where they had a group of folks participate together. This year it's more of an opportunity to get individuals from the community to organize their own holiday trash parties, and be it by themselves or with families, as kind of a way to give back during the holidays. So just a really neat undertaking. They have quite a presence on social media as well, so be sure to follow them on Facebook. And I'll get more into the different projects that they've been really key and instrumental to in partnership with the refuge. But yes, like I said, they've been key in removing litter from the Albemarle Pamlico watershed. They've planted hundreds of pollinator plants near the Millennium Forest. I think they've also done some work at Dismal Swamp. And I'm really watching my words here because Laura, you are the expert in northeastern North Carolina area. Early last year, for Valentine's Day, they also had the really fun opportunity to kind of mesh art and the work that we do as NC Wildlife Federation, where they held a paper making, Valentine's Day card making kind of opportunity where they took butterfly highway seed mix and created those seed papers, and kind of got those in the ground and did some seed sowing. And anyways, it was just a really neat partnership with Sproul Farm Conservation. And I have linked them on here as well. So it's not all just getting your hands dirty in the ground or sitting and listening to a lecture, but there's different opportunities to get involved. And that might mean making seed paper or going out in the swamp and looking for alligators. So there's that. More information on how to hold your holiday trash party here. And if you have any questions for them, or if you want to get involved, if you're anywhere in this general region that you can see all the way down to Columbia or even Washington, please reach out to them, reach out to Laura. Her contact information is also in the PowerPoint, and get involved. You can find them on Facebook here. All right, so we got a couple more chapters before we jump into some kind of takeaways and any questions. The Southeastern Swamp Stewards are also one of our newer NCWF chapters. They are located near the Whiteville area, but you can find them really anywhere in Columbus County and even all the way up to Brunswick. They actually recently held a co-hosted event with the Lower Cape Fear Wildlife Chapter, where they went to EV Henwood Preserve and did a nature walk, went to go see the bald cypress. Yeah, so they've been doing some litter cleanups and nature walks around Lake Waccamaw. They also recently had an opportunity in partnership with the Kohari tribe, um, and where they paddled the Kohari River and were able to participate in a tour of the tribal center. So they really enjoyed that. The folks that went to that event really enjoyed it as well, and we're hoping that we can do more of that in the future. You can join them this Thursday. So as you can see, there are a lot of opportunities to get involved, and all of this information is on our website. It all goes out in our weekly newsletters, but again, it's all on the website. So it's almost like you're like, oh, there's so much going on. Whatever shall I do? Just look at the map and see where it makes sense for you to participate. But this Thursday, December 5th, they will be screening the film Common Ground, and this links to the trailer in observance of World Soil Day. They will also have a discussion with Columbus County Soil and Water Conservation District staff, so be sure to register. If you want to receive more information on exactly where this will be and what time, click there. And follow them on Facebook. Oh, I don't want to skip through photos here. There's Paige and folks from leadership. Here's a picture from the Kohari tribe, paddle. And Miss Bess here is an artist, and she created this mural at Lake Waccamaw. So another opportunity to marry art with wildlife. Okay, so, and last but not least, we've got our Lower Cape Fear chapter, historically known as Island Wildlife. They changed their name a couple years ago, I believe. They have been key to restoring native carnivorous plants in the Wilmington area in partnership with different folks, including the Nature Conservancy. They participate in the Fire in the Pines Festival, which I believe this is a picture from that date. Page again with treasure for Lower Cape Fear, wildlife, Laura. It's cute. Couple pictures from those events. And then of course, litter cleanups in the Caswell Beach area and all around Brunswick, New Hanover County. This year, they are looking to do more events, work opportunities in the Brunswick County area. So if you're anywhere near Leland, Southport, I believe is where majority of their leadership lives. They're looking for more hands, more folks to become involved, to go out and create those partnerships with the folks on the ground in the Brunswick County area and to participate. Because at the end of the day, we do this all for community, we do it all for wildlife, and it takes many hands to do this work. So if you're interested in joining them, Paige can put you in contact with them. A lot of the folks on leadership are also working full time. They've got other things going on. So the president actually works for the Bald Head Island Conservancy. If you've been there, you may have met her. So anyways, Paige will put you in contact and follow them on Facebook. Tonight, they're actually at a brewery for a chapter social event, which is to get people out talking about wildlife, talking about the things that they are passionate about, and hopefully getting them more involved in the chapter. here's a picture from our chapter leader outing at the beginning of the year. A few folks on staff, a few folks that are not on staff, but yeah, this chapter leader outing was in northeastern North Carolina. We were able to see so many tundra swan, red-winged blackbirds, all kinds of wildlife out there. No bear, unfortunately. Some sliders, but good stuff out there. So all in all, without our NCWF community wildlife chapters, we couldn't have done everything that I'm about to tell you. In 2024, we've had 242 opportunities to connect with wildlife and the outdoors. That is through lecture style webinars or in-person events. It could be through guided nature walks or hikes. It could be through the Kids in Nature Day events or Great Outdoors University. 242 opportunities. We've planted 13,800 trees, a big chunk of which were planted in northeastern North Carolina, Atlantic white cedar area. But another big chunk, which are planted in urban areas to restore that urban canopy and benefit urban wildlife. We've had over 1,000 native shrubs planted, 8,400 pollinator plants installed, and with the help of our chapters, we've cleared 19 acres of invasive plant species. So like I mentioned before, we're hoping to re-engage with our mountain area potential chapters back in 2025 and continue to assist in any recovery efforts as appropriate and as needed in Western North Carolina. But in December, we are working with a group of folks in the Topsail area and potentially starting a Pender Onslow County chapter. So some of you all might be on here. Welcome. Thank you for jumping in. All of this was just to take you through all the many ways in which our chapters are involved in their communities and the state, and how you can get involved if you're in an area with a chapter. If you're not seeing a chapter in your area, I will pause sharing my screen for a second and I will go back to my presentation real quick. Okay. I will okay, here we go. Okay. If you're not seeing a chapter in your area, there are 3 foundational things. If you're interested in starting a chapter, you need to identify 6 to 12 people that are interested in serving as chapter leaders. You need to know which conservation type of projects you're interested in doing. Those 3 essential items that we spoke about earlier in this presentation on, doing habitat work for wildlife, being the voice for wildlife, and connecting youth and families to the outdoors and wildlife. What within those 3 items is the need for your community? What is it that you are looking to accomplish by creating a chapter? And you need to know where exactly you would be doing that work. So once you've got that, I will encourage you to go back to this presentation where we just went through all of this long list of items that we've got going on, to click here. This will lead you to our new application, NCWF chapter application, where you can input all of that information. If you do have that list of individuals already in mind that you want to start a chapter with, we highly encourage you to submit this application, and then I will reach out to you all in the next few days to see, hey, let's get this started, because as a 501c3, as the parent organization, there are a few items that are more housekeeping that we would be able to assist in creating for the chapter. But this is all very in-depth and it starts to get kind of in the weeds. So I'm happy to speak to you all on more of a one-on-one basis if this is something that is of interest. So I've been speaking for a little over an hour. Um, are there, Laura, are there any other questions on the chat?
Not in the chat right now.
Okay. Well, if you all think of anything, you can raise your hand. We could try that if you want to speak up, or you can post your question on the chat or the Q&A. All right. I don't see anything, so I guess we must have covered everything. Yeah.
We have one question in the chat now.
Okay. All right, Jonah, who will you speak to about a chapter in Pender County? So right now I am speaking to Miss Joanna Benz, I believe is how you say her last name. And she's already got a group that has expressed interest in, okay, you've been speaking with her? Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up with these comments, but if you've been speaking with her, she will be leading that community chapter-led effort. Paige, who covers the southeast portion of North Carolina, will be more hands-on assisting on the ground. Myself and Paige will be in Topsail on Saturday to speak to the folks that Joanna has put together for this chapter leadership team. So there we'll be able to hammer out some more of the what we have the foundation down. Where do we go with that? The establishment of the chapter, creating a name, creating an entity under our umbrella, all of that. And then once we have that, then we'll be able to create kind of a donation form and get this Topsail chapter / Pender Onslow County chapter more into the loop and have all the resources that different chapters have through us. I hope that answers the question. Cool. Okay, let's see what else. Any suggestions for finding and meeting other people in my area that might be interested in starting a chapter? Okay. George, so many suggestions. One place to start is with our own personal network. So if you have friends, if you have family, folks at your work that love wildlife or enjoy hunting or whatever it is that connects them to the outdoors, that's a good place to start. There are other, I don't know if you put on here where you currently are, but we could suggest some other partners in your area. I don't see if he's, oh, I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. Wayne County. Sorry, give me just a second. I'm placing myself here. Okay. So north of Wilmington. And you work in Wayne County. Let me Huh. I will look into that as far as other potential organizations that are already active or partners that we have that we might be able to connect you to, George. So yeah, because right now that's you're right, that's not an area where we have an active chapter or anything like that. Yep. So, yes, start with the personal network, and then we are happy to help reach out to any folks that we know and connect you all. I think a lot of times what happens is folks don't really understand what it means to be a chapter, which was part of why we had this webinar, or the work that goes into creating one. And so um, we'll have them reach out like, I want a chapter, but then they don't want to lead the chapter. So then it's difficult that way. However, if you're interested, we will look into different folks that we can connect you to. And we've got a list of people from all over the state that receive our NCWF newsletters or um, like paper quarterly journals that may live in your area, but don't really, don't really know about the chapter network. No problem. Okay, let's see. Um,
We also have a question in our Q&A as well.
okay.
Just didn't want to forget about it. Gail asked or said, I'm very worried about the environment being protected with the new administration in January. Your thoughts, question mark, plans, question mark.
Yep. So, like I mentioned before, we're a 501(c)(3) nonprofit, which means that we can only do so much lobbying. But whatever lobbying that we do, and we've always done, is nonpartisan. So we like to work across party lines. And with regardless of the new administration, we are continuing to move forward on our efforts and working both sides of the political divide and getting that bipartisan support for things like Recovering America's Wildlife Act and things that will bring more funding into the state to continue to try to protect those wild places. Let's see, we've got another question here. All information about what other chapters are doing, will that be available to review closer? Yes, yes. I'll be sending a follow-up email to everybody that registered today. And what I went through, you will be able to scroll through as well and click on those links and browse people's websites and Facebook pages and all that. What location, how big of a location do chapters typically cover? Some chapters choose to do the whole county. Some do cities, some do multiple counties. And that's all based on where your chapter supporters are. By that I mean who's participating in your events, who's part of leadership. So the Wildlife Habitat Stewards of Northeastern North Carolina cover a lot of ground, but they've got folks that live in all these different areas. And so whenever, if you're someone that's in leadership and all of your leadership team can't make it to an event because it's 40 minutes away, then it's really up to you in knowing whether or not your network extends in your area such that you can support such a large span. But it's really up to the chapter. So, and and again, the material that I will share with you all, you can see like where these chapters are located and where their range extends. So in an earlier map that I showed, there's circles around the approximate boundaries where they work. Boundaries in quotes, because they're not actually boundaries. Okay. Anything else? All right. Well, thank you all for staying around. We appreciate your time. We hope to see you at any one of these wonderful opportunities. And yeah, thank you. Hope you all have a great night.